Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel and welcome to the world of VLSI physical design. Myself Aditya, I have done my post graduation from IIT Bhubaneswar, and me and my friend who is also post graduated from electrical department IIT Delhi. We both are physical design engineers and we both equally shares the passion for teaching. So we thought why not to come up with a YouTube channel which discusses all the issues that a physical design engineer faces during his day-to-day life. And moreover, there is no a proper YouTube channel which discusses all these things in a sequential manner to the freshly graduate students. So after watching these upcoming set of videos, you will be acquainted with how exactly the PD flow goes in the industry and what exactly are the topics that a freshly graduate student needs to know before getting into this domain. So let's get started. This is the overview of the topics that we have thought that we will cover in our upcoming video lectures. Whenever we will get some time, we will try to cover all these topics with some real-time scenarios. So the first topic that we are gonna discuss as a part of these physical design videos is VLSI design styles. An IC, what we call it as an integrated chip, contains thousands or millions of transistors fabricated on a small area. To design these ICs, there are basically 4 design styles available in the market. These design styles are field programmable gate array based design, standard cell based design, and the fourth one is full custom design. First one is field programmable gate array. As the name suggests, these kind of devices can be programmed on the field. So being an IC designer, my field is my lab, right? The basic idea behind this kind of style is we can purchase some FPGA development boards along with the CAD tools, can bring those in our labs and program it according to our specific application with the help of these CAD tools. Basically, FPGA chips have 3 main components. First one is the IO buffers, second one is the array of CLBs, configuration logic blocks, and the third one is programmable interconnect structure. So this is basically how an internal structure of FPGA looks like. The rectangles on all the 4 sides are the IO blocks. The internal rectangles that you can see are the configuration logic blocks, and these horizontal and the vertical lines represent the routing channels or the interconnects that can be programmed according to our specific design. The functionality of each of the CLBs are configured with the help of LUTs. LUTs are nothing but the lookup tables. These LUTs are present inside each CLB and it contains the truth table for the Boolean function. Interconnect between the CLBs are programmed using the SRAM based switches. For time being, I am not going into the very depth of the FPGA internal structure, that how each CLBs are configured according to the specific functionality, but if possible I'll try to cover it in a different video. So this is the design flow of FPGA chip. It starts with the behavioral description of the functionality, which is done in one of the hardware descriptive languages, being it the Verilog or VHDL. Mostly Verilog is more preferred in the industry due to its specific features. Second step is the technology mapping of all the logic gates whose design functionality is described in the Verilog code. The third step is the placement and routing. Placement means where exactly the cells sit on the physical layout, and routing means how exactly these cells will connect to each other and how will they communicate to each other. After that, the bit stream is generated and timing analysis and verification is done before actually the design is being dumped onto the FPGA. I'll try to go into the depth of each topic in the upcoming videos. This is just an overview. So next comes the gate array based design style. In the view of speed of prototyping capability, the gate array comes after the FPGA. The gate arrays are implemented with the metal masks and processing in the fabrication lab. So there comes the catch. If at all I need to go to the fab facility to get my chip fabricated, what is the advantage of going to the gate array based design from FPGA kind of style? Because the biggest advantage that we were getting from the FPGA was we can bring those FPGA boards into our lab and program them within the few hours, right? So the answer to why the gate array based designs are significant Let me put it in this way. Say there are 5 customers, all want ICs for their different applications. Suppose first customer want an IC for some printing application. The second one wants an IC for some server based application, likewise other. So what the gate array based design does, it splits the manufacturing IC process into the 2 steps. In the first step, the creation of the standard masks, which results in an array of uncommitted transistors in each GA chip. Here the uncommitted transistors means the transistors are laid out on the base wafers but they are not connected. So they create common wafers in the first step using the standard masks. Remember, this step is common for all the customers and it is the most expensive step, the cost for which will be shared among the 5 users. And in the second phase, these uncommitted chips are customized by defining the metal interconnects between this array of transistors according to the specific user. The second step cost will be according to the different individual user application. So this is being shown in this diagram. Next comes the standard cell based design. It's one of the most prominent design style of the IC fabrication. In this, most of the commonly used logic cells like NAND, NOR, XOR, AOI means AND OR invert, OAI, OR and invert, D latches, flip-flops are developed, characterized and stored in a library called the standard cell library. To effectively utilize the area of the chip, standard cells are designed with a fixed standard height but with varying width so that they can be abutted in the cell rows side by side to share the common VDD and ground rails. So in this design, already customized cells which are present in the library, we pick them from there, place them in our layout. In the actual physical layout, there is a VDD or VSS mesh which runs throughout the chip so that these cells can be powered on. Here we take the standard cell height as fixed one, but the width of the standard cell can vary so that the cells sitting adjacent to each other can share the VDD and VSS rows. Next comes the full custom layout design style. In this full custom layout design style, geometry, orientation, placement of every transistor is done individually by the designer. Design productivity for this kind of style is very less, usually 20 to 30 transistors per designer per day. Development cost of such a design style is prohibitively very high. Thus the concept of design reuse is becoming popular in order to reduce the design cycle time and development cost. This kind of full custom layout design style is rarely used in the industry, but the most rigorous full custom design can be the design of a memory cell, being it a static or dynamic. So here we come to an end of my first lecture on VLSI design style. Thanks for watching the video. Do like, comment to let me know your queries. Please subscribe to the channel if you like the video so that you can be notified with our next videos. Thanks.